Mandatory vaccinations are no conspiracy theory, ladies and gentlemen. You can no longer accuse me of fear-mongering because we are here. It has arrived, and it is in fact more draconian than I could have even imagined. You may recall it was just a couple weeks ago I put out this video, New York City orders mandatory vaccines, where New York City was requiring vaccinations against measles. Can officials do that? The New York Times wondered. Says mandatory vaccinations is rare, but it has been done and upheld by the courts. While judges have allowed health officials to fine citizens for refusing, forced vaccinations are highly unusual. Yes, highly unusual, but it is indeed happening. This just out from Reuters. New York City tickets 12 people for defying the measles vaccination order. And joining me on the line to help us break down the latest developments in the mandatory vaccine case is our East Coast correspondent, Leigh Stuart. Leigh, thanks for joining us here today to do a follow-up on our report that we only did a couple of weeks ago now, warning that this was indeed going to be coming down the road to this small Orthodox Jewish community in Brooklyn. Now we have about 12 of them who have stood up against this, and they're being punished. They're being fined. Upwards of $1,000, I believe. First of all, Leigh, what are your thoughts on the 12, the brave 12 who dare to go against the state's mandatory vaccine program?
Shout out to the brave 12. Before that, there was a vaccine even invented for the measles. Parents used to have parties with their kids to give each other the measles. If one family's kid had the measles, they would invite the whole community or the whole, all the neighbors over for their kids to play and build up immunity or to catch the measles to get it out of the way. You also have a natural immunity, that's passed on from your parents. If your parents have had the measles, there's a good chance that maybe you won't get the measles or you'll have a more difficult time getting the measles. And people who are actually passing away from this measles have an autoimmune deficiency in the first place, who can't get the vaccine, who wouldn't survive if they had the vaccine. And, they're catching the measles and not surviving. So this is a very small percentage, and we're seeing the mainstream media use this as fear-mongering. They're even doctoring photos. I know NBC and CNN have actually been caught doctoring photos to make it look like kids are catching the measles, little baby infants, and using it as a tool to trick people into getting these vaccines that have been linked to autism. So, shout out to the 12.
Yeah.
Shout out to the 12.
Let's face it, the mainstream media is a propaganda wing of Big Pharma when it comes to the vaccine debate. And, now a lot of the outlets are championing this move by New York officials. Let's see what the official Reuters article has to say. It says here, New York City has issued a civil summonses to 12 people that it said were not complying with the mandatory measles vaccination order, as the number of record cases in the city's worst outbreak since 1991 rose to 390, according to data released on Wednesday. The city's outbreak of the highly contagious and sometimes deadly virus began last October and has been largely confined to children in the Orthodox Jewish communities in Brooklyn. 2 of the 61 additional cases confirmed since Thursday are in pregnant women, city health officials said. The health department took the unusual step earlier this month of issuing an emergency order requiring unvaccinated people in affected neighborhoods to get the measles, mumps, and rubella or MMR vaccine. Unless they could otherwise show they had immunity, the 12 people issued summons for defying orders must attend a hearing and face a fine up to $1,000 if found to be non-compliant. And when we're talking about this MMR vaccine, it's important to really get to the bottom of what some of their concerns are. Leigh, here we have some of the common side effects of the MMR vaccine, and we see this is from rxlist.com. The mumps, measles, rubella vaccine is a virus vaccine for vaccinations against measles, mumps, rubella. Here's some of the common side effects that are found. The injection site reactions, pain, redness, swelling, fever, rash, headache, dizziness, joint or muscle pain, nausea, vomiting, or diarrhea. But then we get into these, Leigh. Uh, Easily bruising or bleeding, seizures, or mental mood changes such as confusion. The science isn't definitive on this being safe. There still are a lot of questions people have in terms of vaccine safety, and I think it's legitimate questions, don't you? Especially, when we're learning about the serious side effects that these vaccines have.
Definitely. They're just kind of making you trust your government, and we just have to kind of take their word for it. But I encourage everyone to do their own research. And now that you have the tools of uh, the internet, you have the tools at hand to look up these sort of things on your own and make a conscious decision on your own instead of trusting your own government to kind of spoon feed you information. Because I know CNN has used photos of the measles in the past, but these kids, that the photos that they're using of kids, they're actually having reactions to the vaccine, and the photographs they're using are actually a rash as a result of the vaccine, not the actual measles itself. So we've seen in the past the mainstream media lying, and can we take their word for it? Absolutely not. In my experience or my opinion, they're the enemy of the people and not to be trusted whatsoever.
And as we said in the beginning of this broadcast, this really does set a precedent, and we hope it doesn't go in the wrong direction. I mean, here in Canada, this is already on the table. I'll pull this up. This is something I reported it on just 2 months ago. The government wants mandatory vaccines for your children. What you need to know, where we reported that residents of British Columbia, Canada, are now one step closer to living out this Orwellian nightmare, as the nanny state has taken the incremental steps to make vaccines mandatory in BC schools. You may recall we also reported on this one earlier this month. SWAT team takes 2-year-old for having a fever. Parents now face child abuse charges because the doctor wanted to suggest this young boy be vaccinated, and SWAT team literally busted into their parents' place and took the kid away from these parents. It's getting so bad that their efforts are ramping up majorly here. So that means we need to ramp up our efforts as well, ladies and gentlemen, because we're talking about the forced vaccinations of our children coming to BC schools potentially, if cases like this in the United States continue to develop. So we really have to raise awareness about this, guys. We have to get the word out that this is happening, and we got to stand up for these 12. I mean, it's sad to say, but it's a brave thing that they're doing. It shouldn't be considered that, going against the state mandatory vaccines, but we need to encourage people to do similar things, and they have to be looked at as being brave moving forward in the face of this, because this is a huge debate, and we need to encourage people to not fear being ostracized and shunned by society for speaking out against this. So I guess Leigh, just in closing, any final thoughts about the city of New York? It's so sad that these people in Brooklyn have to deal with this, and I kind of hope that they don't pay the fine, and refuse to give the $1,000 and maybe escalate this to the next level. Do you think that might be the way to go? Should they continue to challenge this one moving forward?
Absolutely. This is like you said, a precedent, and the more that they fight back, I think the more resistance they give to the government for forcing this upon people. How far is the pendulum going to go? And like you said, this is starting to appear in Canada now, and what are you going to do when you have to vaccinate your kids when they have to go to school? The option would be homeschooling. Just remove yourself completely. And we're seeing this kind of narrative with a lot of different issues. I'm noticing the state interfering in the family nucleus, and they're trying to overtake the family nucleus by disrupting it and forcing what their beliefs are on families, regardless of what their religion is, what their beliefs are. And like I said, a pushback is crucial in this situation. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it's time we stand back up for the family unit. We let people know that it is under attack, and again, these are incremental moves that have gotten us here. To the point where these guys in New York have to deal with this. So we have to push back against these incremental moves here in our own country as we continue to see them ramp up, as we are now in the BC schools. So, folks, please click the thumbs up button. Get the word out that this is in fact going on. We don't want it to set a precedent where it creates a ripple effect and other states in the United States jump on board with this, and then other countries around the world jump on board with this. We need to stop it in the tracks right now before it gets too out of hand. So please help us do that. Click the thumbs up button and share this video with your friends and family who you think need to hear this information the most. And so that's all. I want to thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for more video reports coming soon. This is Dan Dix and Leigh Stuart reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.